Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video on Marvel Contest of Champions. Today we are doing 6.4.5 Vivified and Masochism. So for Masochism, every time that you apply, every 7 seconds if you apply a debuff on the opponent, the debuff is purified and they regenerate 5% of their max health. And Vivified is the defender's power rate is increased by 200%, and that cannot be affected by power drain, power steal or power burn abilities. Now, the defenders are pretty straightforward. There's not much difficult defenders apart from Invisible Woman that can give you problems, or also Red Skull that can give you a few problems. Apart from that, they're straightforward. Even the mini boss is Elsa Bloodstone with Vivified and Masochism, and double tap is not much of a hard note to deal with. The boss is going to be a Hydra Adaptoid. Now, some good counters are going to be either you can bring in champions that counter Masochism. So, if you're going against metal champions, you have 3 metal champions here. So, 4 metal champions here. So, you can go with Magneto, and they have 80%, 85% chance to not trigger the region. Then you also have a Mega Red, so you can build up to 10 spores, and then the Masochism will not trigger. You have Apocalypse as well, Archangel with Neurotoxins. So, all of these are good Masochism counters. You can use them. Another good way is to use champions with taunts. You keep taunting the opponent and they will always have a special because of the Vivified node, and they can keep throwing specials and you can retaliate. SP3 tankers can also work, and some other options. There is a fun interaction with Gilly 2099. After 100 hits she will power drain, so you can use that. Quake also works, and then champions like Void are also a good option. Now jumping into the part guys, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on those post notifications, and all of that helps me out a lot. Now my team is going to be a She-Hulk that is going to be a taunt champion, and then I have gonna use Magneto for 1 or 2 fights to show you metal champions, and then there's going to be an Apocalypse because you cannot purify stuns against him. All the parries you cannot purify, so he's a good Masochism counter. So is Proxima Midnight, and also Archangel. He will be needed for some of the fights coming up, so that is going to be my team. Now the first fight is going to be against a Colossus, so this is a slow fight where you will build up your Apocalypse. You can also bring in the Cable synergy if you like, but I wanted it so different options with all the champions, so I just thought about building him up. Now the first fight is against Colossus, and he's a mutant champion, so as soon as I will take Apocalypse in the fight, I will get 2 charges on him, so that will increase the passive prowess by 2. So every special ability will have damage increase because of the 3 prowesses that I have passively. So all I'm trying to do here is to put up as much as debuffs as possible and do damage with SP2 and SP1, and then keep my heavy on Colossus, and slowly he will die with all of those debuffs going on him. Now other champions you can use here are going to be your Spider-Man Starkinons. So you can build up your poise charges and you can use the taunt and let them throw the specials and go back in to retaliate. Same concept goes with She-Hulk as well. You can build up your personal furies, and because he's a large champion, the furies will stick longer. And also you can use Quake here. There's going to be no power gain if you don't hit the opponent, and Gilly 29 is also an option, but you will have to play and you will have to like really bait out all the specials until she gets to 100 hits, and then her power drain will come into play and the Colossus will never get to an SP3. Ghost with Hood is also a good option, tank all the SP3s. And also one lesser known option is going to be Mr. Fantastic. You can use him as well. His SP1 applies taunt, so that will also work. And if you bring She-Hulk and Mr. Fantastic together, there you can use that synergy where they apply power stings to kill off the defenders faster as well. Next defender is going to be a Civil Warrior. I'm going to use a Proxima Midnight here for the natural class advantage, and also I'm going to build up my missions and throw an SP3 and try to kill him off. I do mess up a little and I get a lot of hits, and I die when he's at 5 to 10% health, and I bring in Archangel to kill him off. But Proxima Midnight is also a good option if you have a ranked up. She can bypass that Masochism, then you only have to worry about the power gain on the opponent. And yes guys, that's about it. You can just keep baiting the specials out, use your own specials to create the distance, and you can also kill the opponent like that. Next defender is going to be a Ghostrider OG, that is the mystic one. So I'm going to bring in a She-Hulk. At first I'm just gonna try to build him to almost 2 bars of power and keep baiting his specials out. So when I have almost 2 bars of power, I'll start throwing my SP1 so I can get all of those passive furies on me. And once I have 5 to 6 furies, it becomes super easy. Now you will notice that I'm just trying to bait out his specials, and I will go back in, and That's about it. You keep repeating that cycle, and She-Hulk does an amazing job killing most of this path out. So if you have a She-Hulk, you can even bring in synergy with Gladiator Hulk and Daredevil Hell's Kitchen, and the Furies can be prolonged, and you can literally run the whole path. Apart from Invisible Woman with She-Hulk, and she does an amazing job for the whole path. All the taunts are up there. The defenders will keep throwing specials, and you will just retaliate after that. And because of the vivified power, they will always have a special, and you don't need to use a parry and activate that masochism. So taunt champions like her and Spider-Man Stark Enhanced will work great. Emma Frost is also a good option here. No, now I have already used the Horseman ability on Archangel, so I can use them in the upcoming fights. Now I'm trying to build up Apocalypse again. Now because I'm going against Sunspot and he is a mutant champion, at the start of the fight I've got two charges, and once I do kill him off, I will get another one. Again, Sunspot is an easy target for Apocalypse because his specials are very easily evadable, and I can just keep going in, keep hitting him, keep pushing him to SP1 and SP2. And even if I try to parry him, the the masochism will not trigger and the health regen will not be there, so the fight is very simple and straightforward. Keep a note though, if Apocalypse has 4 charges and you go in with a light hit, that stun is purified and it will always trigger masochism. So just be careful about that. And apart from that, it's a pretty straightforward, simple fight and you can kill them off. All your usual champions will work. So Apocalypse and also Void will work with his heal reversal, but for Void, remember, before you throw an SP1 you need to parry, or before the cooldown for the debuff is done, you have to parry to trigger the masochism. Once you have 2 of those petrifies, then you don't need to worry, you can parry anytime and the masochism heal will be reversed, so keep that in mind. You can use Void also for the whole path. Same goes for the taunt champions. For somebody like She-Hulk and Spider-Man Stark Enhanced, you can keep taunting it out. And also the other 2 champions that have class advantage is going to be Gilly 2099 and also Ghost, so they also work really well for this path and for this fight as well. Now next up is going to be a Vulture. Now Vulture is a bit tricky in a way that his SP2 can be annoying sometimes, and because of Vivified he will be pushed to SP2 a lot of times. So the best way is to always use 4 hits against him and swipe back, so you have enough distance. Whenever he will trigger his SP2, you can always swipe back and get and stay away from the SP2. Now the champions that work here can be your Archangels, can be your She-Hulk as well, and you can also use champions that have SP tankers, so you can use like somebody like Killmonger, you can use somebody like Luke Cage, even Hood will work here. So yeah, my choice was going to be Magneto, so I'm going to build up to 40 prowess charges. Now here's the difficult part. The easy part is to build up to 40 prowess charges, then you have to stun before you throw an SP3 and try to trigger that masochism, because if you don't, you throw an SP3, those armors will be purified and the damage for SP3 will not be that amazing. So you need to stun him, trigger the masochism, and then you will have to throw your SP3. Now it's sounds easier than it looks, because the magnetism will always mostly stun Vulture, and it will not purify the stun and activate masochism. So you really have to make sure that you keep up your prowess charges and then hope that the next stun you attempt is going to be purified and masochism will trigger, because if not, then you will be waiting for it for a long time, and then the timing on the the prowess charges, they also run out, so you have to keep using your heavy. So I would suggest that Magneto is probably not the best choice, but if you do have Magneto, 4 of the champions on their path are going to be metal champions. Although I will not suggest you to use him against Colossus, because Colossus he is not really good. But for the other 3 metal champions, Civil Warrior, Vulture, and also Red Skull, you can use him, but he's not the best choice because you will have to wait a lot before to throw a SP3. You will have to trigger the Masochism before you throw an SP3, and then it will do full effect. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, Magneto is also option, but is not the best one. Now, next defender is one of the more trickier defenders on this path. So there are going to be 2 defenders that are really tricky. One is going to be a Red Skull, and the next one is going to be Invisible Woman. So this is probably the most annoying fight. First, Red Skull has a lot of armor, so you either need to bring in an armor break champion, or you need to bring in champion that has a lot of damage over time. In my case, it's going to be an Archangel with Horseman ability, but you can also use him without it. So all you need to do is to keep him below 1 bar of power and keep stacking those neurotoxins. The neurotoxins will not only stop the regen, but it will also stop the masochism, and you will be easily able to stun. But be wary before you have the neurotoxins up, the max masochism will trigger, because the neurotoxins will reduce the ability accuracy. So just be careful about that. Now, as SP2 can be evaded, it's not like it can't be evaded, but it's much safer to block it up a little bit if you don't have the right practice. So just be careful about that. You will notice that I will try to evade some of the SP2s and I will get hit as well, then I start blocking, so there's a lot of that. But again, other champions that you can use here, Apocalypse will work really well here with all of his damage over time debuffs. Also, options are Stark, Enhanced Spider-Man, and as well as She-Hulk. But remember, do not hit him in his block if you are not using a Cosmic Champion, because he will do a lot of damage to you with the power burn. If you're using a Cosmic Champion, that's okay, but if it's a non-Cosmic Champion, do not hit him in his block. Your power will be burned and you will get damage and you will die very quickly. So that is why he's a bit of a tricky champion. If you get cornered, it's going to be difficult. So just keep your specials and just be wary about that. Now next one is going to be an Invisible Woman. Now she can be really annoying with her invisibility and masochism together, so make sure you have your reparry game up and you use bleeders here, so champions like Nick Fury, X23, and also champions like Moleman. Also, one of the best options against her is going to be a Killmonger, because you will not only have the 3 charges for indestructible after SP2, he can also tank SP3. So if you accidentally push her to an SP3, you can easily just tank it out. Now in this fight I am using Archangel again with Horseman ability, so he will work amazing here with all those neurotoxins and bleeds. The invisibility will not do much, and it will go away as soon as it's triggered, because the bleed will remove it along with the neurotoxins. Now I do make a mistake and I push her to an SP3, but because of having a lot of neurotoxins, she does not get the time to throw an SP3, and I play very aggressive and I keep throwing my specials to not give her time to throw an SP3, and I managed to bring her down. But when you are playing on your own, make sure that you bait out those specials. It can be annoying, but it's a slow process, but you can kill her off. Just bring in a bleed champion, and that works very well against her. And just before the boss fight, there's going to be a Black Widow Clairvoyant. Now, she's not a difficult defender. She's very easy to deal with. One of the easier defenders on the path. Her specials can be easily evaded. You just have to be careful about the power gain from Vivified and do not push her to an SP3. Apart from that, I am just using a She-Hulk with all the taunts, so she will keep throwing her SP1 and keep giving me openings to attack back. And in this way, I will not trigger the Masochism. Maybe it will trigger because of the exhaustion on SP1, but that's okay. Your Furies will really increase your damage, and you will easily out damage the exhaustion regeneration, and you will be able to bring her down really fast. Again, same options you can also use in Archangel here, but the problem is that you will have to switch her to her poison mode, and for that you will have to take some hit. So only use Archangel if that is the last option you have. Otherwise it's not really advisable, but I've still mentioned him in the options that you can go that route as well. Also, Apocalypse with all of those damage over times will work. Stark enhanced Spider-Man with those taunts, and also by this time you should have your Gilly 2099 firing on all cylinders, so you can use her as well with all of that energy damage. And of course there's going to be your Tech Ghost with Hood Synergy, which can easily tank special, so you don't need to worry about the SP3s, and you can easily take out Black Widow Clairvoyant. Now the next fight is going to be against Elsa Bloodstone. Now the difficult part about this fight is to keep her below 2 bars of power, because her SP2 does a lot of block damage here, but the SP1 can be easily evaded. And top of it, I made another mistake of bringing in an Excel champion, because I was like, I will just use all the damage over times and will be faster to kill, but this fight was very close for me. So it's better to bring in smaller champions like Sunspot, like Domino, Archangel, X23. All of those champions will work much better. Also, there is an ability for Elsa Bloodstone. If you apply a bleed on her, there will be a degen on you, so make sure that you bring in a mutant champion against her, because mutant champions will not be degenerated. But again, you can use other champions as well. You can use the She-Hulk here as well. You can also use the Spider-Man Stark Enhance. So there's quite a few options as disguised discussed in the beginning of the video. The nodes are going to be same, Vivified and Masochism. Only double tap is there, but double tap is whenever she will apply one debuff, she will apply it 2 times, and also the other one. So just don't get hit, and the double tap will not come into play. But the difficult part will be to manage the block damage from SP2 and keeping her to an SP1. If you can manage that, it's a pretty easy and a straightforward fight, not one difficult fight. The main key fights in this path are going to be your Red Skull and Invisible Woman, so make sure that you have a good counter for them when you bring that. And yeah guys, that's about it, and I'll see you at the boss fight. Now the boss is going to be a Hydra Adaptoid with armor break immunity, limber 10%, force of will, and unblockable specials, and also vigor. So every cooldown he will get some regen on him, and force of will I cannot reduce his ability accuracy. So bring in champions that can easily apply slow. In my case it's going to be a She-Hulk. She is the best champion to take him out with all of those stacking furies and increasing damage. She makes a really joke out of him. You can also use Red Guardian, you can also use Spider-Man, the stealth suit. Captain America Infinity War with the Mystic is also a great option. You can just parry and heavy. Even when he has unstoppable, you will always have a kinetic charge on you because of all the expiring buffs on him, because of the Mystic synergy you have. So Captain America Infinity War is a good option. But just remember, there's limber 10%. With She-Hulk you can get around with it by throwing SP3s because of the long stuns that are there on She-Hulk SP3, and you can use that to go in and use a heavy attack and apply a slow volume. If not, other champions that you can use can be somebody like Doom and also Black Widow Clairvoyant. Those are heavy nullifiers. With Doom you can just keep the stagger up the whole time, and you can also tank because he's a good tanker, and then wait for him to throw a heavy and then you can go back in. With Black Widow Clairvoyant, build up to your SP2s and wait for him to dash in. When he does dash in with those unstoppable, just throw an SP2 as an intercept, and that will easily intercept and put that buff immunity on Adaptoid, and you can easily go on from there. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did guys, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those post notifications. All of that really helps me out a lot. Next up will be the last spot on 6.4.5 before we jump on to the Grandmaster quest, so stay tuned guys. And apart from that, I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.